Who's the champ of foolish fame? Let's crown the buffoon of the week by name. Comic crown and a goofy streak. The title goes to our champ this week.
Hey there, everybody. Class is back in session. Welcome back to Buffoonology 101. Gene Berardelli and Ross Galloway here. Ross, did you learn anything this past week?
Oh, I have so much to say, Mr. Berardelli.
Well, as long as you're saying that you learned a lesson from trying to game my system passed your stress test, Galloway. You said you wanted to let the people speak? Well, let's talk about the people speaking, because we have the results from last week's charade of yours from Buffoonology 101, where you chose someone that didn't even do anything, and the people have indeed spoken. It was another record turnout, 149 votes, 70% going for Jake Tapper, 30% for Diddy. Score one for the good guys, Galloway. Let me run through some stats here just so we can get it all out of the way, because the show is continuing to grow. We had over 2,000 views of the various videos from last week's Buffoonology 101 across platforms, doing very well, a little bit off from last week. But I think that might have to do with someone trying to game the system or whatever. And I must note, for vote integrity, that the website did crash, because overnight during the week, the website vote count went from 10 to 33. 23 votes all came in, and it just so happened that they all went for Ross Galloway's nominee, Diddy. We haven't seen chicanery like this since the great Glenn Nocera takeover in 2013.
And I think we all remember how that turned out.
When he tried to do the exact same thing.
Oh, Gene, listen, first of all, I will give you some credit here. Some. Incredible pick where your pick, Jake Tapper, actually gained momentum after your nomination. That normally doesn't happen. We're usually looking at the week prior. Your guy has been in the news cycle now for over a week, so that definitely helped your cause. But I will say this, Gene. I was tracking that vote that you speak of. I was up significantly, and around 2 a.m, the vote counting mysteriously stopped across all platforms. And the next day, when they came back up, lo and behold, Gene and Jake Tapper are up by 81 million votes. I don't know what to make of this, Gene.
I don't know what you were watching. I was watching the vote tallies. The first 48 hours, I was up 93% to 7%. Then during the week this week, after I was up, I was about 85-15. I mean, you were doing shitty, but whatever. Then all of a sudden, on the website only, not on YouTube, I crushed you. Not on X, I mollywopped you. Only on the website was there these irregularities and all these votes coming in for Diddy. Now, I'm not saying anybody did anything, but I will say this, and nobody can see what you wrote there. Oh, you think it's... Oh, okay, fine. You think that, huh?
2 a.m, Gene just jumped up somehow.
Fucking game's rigged.
You know what? I don't have to take this stuff. I'm 4-2, baby. I'm back in the driver's seat. I'm ready to rock out here. I might even run the table. I don't even know. As you said, I had such good foresight for buffoonery that I knew that Jake Tapper was going to continue on this week beyond the nomination. And you know what? I might do that again this week. I might do that again the week after that, because I am that damn good at this, Galloway. Come on, baby.
I don't think you got it in you.
I know I have it in me. And we're going to get started with this week now, because, listen, you're only as good as your last week. So we do have to keep momentum going here. So we're going to take all these numbers here, throw them out the window, because we're starting over with a new batch of nominees. I'm in control. I choose who goes first and second. I'm going first. It's been a while since I sounded off first. And before we get started with me talking about my nominee, I think it's time we discuss the rules of this here wacky game show that we call Buffoonology 101. Before the show, Ross and I have each selected our nominee to present to you for Buffoon of the Week. Each host will have 5 minutes to make their case to you as to why their nominee should earn your vote. The first 2 minutes will be uninterrupted by the other host, but after that, it's a free-for-all between the two discussing the nomination. The opposing host will then evaluate the nominee based on the criteria set forth in my award-winning best-selling book, Schnooks, Crooks, Lies, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores.
This guy is a grifter!
The nominee will then be given a score for buffoonish nature and buffoonish action magnitude on our Sharpton Buffoonery Matrix, but more on that later. After that, we do it all over again for the other nominee. After all the nominees have been weighed and measured, each host will then have 1 minute to plead and beg for your vote for Buffoon of the Week. You'll get to vote online in the comments and on social media and at buffoonoftheweek.com. Vote early and vote often. No one's going to be counting whether you voted more than once. And now, back to the action. And by the way, there are certain buffoons out there, like former presidents and former vice presidents, that are ineligible for nomination for Buffoon of the Week because they'll just skew the results by the pure power of their personality. It won't be about the science anymore. They are Buffoonicus emeritus, forever buffoons. So that's all that we do around here. And I guess I need to get ready to talk about my nominee. And we're going to do that right now. My fellow Buffoonologists, I present to you my nomination for Buffoon of the Week. It is New Jersey Democratic Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. It's a mouthful to say. I had to rehearse it a few times, but I got through it. Congresswoman McIver has been in the news a lot this year. It started out back in February of 2025, where Congresswoman McIver joined these rallies outside of different federal agencies that were blockading Democrats from just waltzing in. And she was out there in these streets proclaiming war against the Trump administration.
We will not take this. We will fight back.
Fight back. Fight back.
And as I close out, because I know we've been out here for a long time, and goddamn it, shut down the Senate. We are at war. Anytime a person can pay $250 million into a campaign and they be given full access to the Department of Treasury of the United States of America, we are at war.
Since then, Congresswoman McIver has been perpetrating a war against the Trump administration in the form of this controversy we've been talking about for weeks now surrounding body camera footage released from outside the Delaney Hall ICE detention center in Newark after an altercation involving ICE officials and a contingent of New Jersey Democratic politicians clashed with each other, resulting this week in Congresswoman McIver being charged with felony assault by the interim U.S. Attorney General for the state of New Jersey, Alina Abba. And by the way, I'm absolutely loving the irony of Trump's attorney, not only his Attorney General, his DOJ, but Trump's attorney bringing it to McIver. Now, noticeably, since this declaration of war and this altercation, Congresswoman McIver has sort of changed her tune a little bit. And that's the true basis of her buffoonery today. It's not necessarily the charges from earlier this week or the actions that happened last week. It's this clip right here that I want to show you right now.
I think the charges are absurd. You know, it's ridiculous. I was there to do my job along with my other colleagues. We have done this before. This is our obligation to do. It's in our job description to have oversight over a facility, and the entire situation was escalated by ICE. They caused the confrontation. Homeland came and, you know, caused this chaos that we see. It was a very tense situation, but it could have been, easily it could have easily not happened. They had every opportunity to not allow this to happen. It was very unnecessary, and it just, once again, we were there to do our jobs. And if I'm going to be charged with a crime for doing my job, it just speaks to where we're headed in this country and what we're dealing with as leaders and as Congress members here in this country.
Did you guys barely hear that? The tone totally changed. She sounded like a decent human being for once, instead of screaming and ranting and raving, cursing at different ICE officers, walking around throwing elbows, claiming that she was doing oversight. Well, I ask you, Mr. Galloway, which elbow strike was the oversight? Was it the left elbow or was it the right elbow? I couldn't tell what the oversight was there. Was it oversight over that one ICE officer that she was bombarding with these blows, or was it something else? That's what I want to know here. But to me, the real buffoonery is the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy of now softening the tone, claiming that I was just doing my constitutional duty in the face of body camera footage, in the face of the accounts of these officers in the charging documents. Yet now, LaMonica McIver and Democrats want to go around and say that this is lawfare. This is what Donald Trump said he wasn't going to do. How dare he do all this? You're being suspiciously quiet here, sir.
I just wanted to let you get it all out. I gave you a little more time.
I appreciate that, but I'm
always fair with that. He couldn't resist, folks. I don't know if you picked up on this. Another woman of color. The man can't help himself. Every week, it's the same thing. He threw Jake Tapper in. He threw us a bone, threw a white guy in, but right now he's back to his old ways. All right. I guess job well done, Gene.
So do you think that she's not a buffoon? Do you think she's not a buffoon?
No, 100% buffoon. But, I she didn't do much different than the January 6th protesters that you were rallying for.
I think she did a lot different than that. Honestly, she showed up at this facility with the intention of causing a ruckus. Yes, she has the ability to show up to these places without notice pursuant to law, but she still has to follow ICE's directions, policies, procedures, and rules pursuant to the regulations promulgated by ICE that Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, posted online, that Tom Homan, the ICE director, has been talking about for weeks. Just because you say you're there doing your congressional duty doesn't mean you're actually doing that. So in the little bit of time I have left here, I want to remind everybody what the buffoonery truly is here. Yes, it's the rocking down those blows upon that ICE officer, but it's also now the softening of the tone and the moderation she's trying to do here, trying to snow job all of you and gaslight all of you into thinking that she's the one that's been wronged here. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for the cocky duty poopy heads race baiting, and vote for LaMonica McIver for this week's Buffoon of the Week.
Gene, I know we got to move on, but she's a strong black woman, and that was a weak pick.
So while my buddy Ross here is deciding on what score he's going to give my nominee, it's a good time to review how we score buffoons here on our Sharpton Buffoonery Matrix. And those of you who've been here know already that when it comes to scoring buffoons, it's all about two things: the buns and the bams. Let's talk buns.
My buns!
No, not those. And definitely not those. I'm talking about our personal buffoonish nature. A decade of collective observations has shown that everyone, to some degree, has a bun. You, me, everybody. The size of their buns is directly related to a buffoon's propensity to do stupid things.
Look at the size of that thing.
And then there's bam, 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 buffoonish action magnitude. That's our measurement of how big a whoopsie a buffoon made. The bigger the mistake, the greater the magnitude. We then plug these values into our Sharpton Buffoonery Matrix, named for the alpha and omega of buffoonery, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
which is our visual representation of a buffoon's bum to bam ratio. And here's the best part. After we tally up the worst offenders, you decide. You get to cast your vote, share your thoughts, and you determine who earns the dubious distinction of Buffoon of the Week, which we'll record as the weeks go by.
All right, so Gene picked another woman of color. We're going to let that slide. I know I mentioned that earlier. This woman's definitely a hypocrite, right? I think we could say that. And I don't know how many of you guys noticed, but same red blazer in all of her buffoonish activity in the public. And no, those are not shoulder pads. She really is that broad.
She's that broad, and she's that broad.
She's that broad. She's that B, and she's that broad. Yeah.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah, it's the same red blazer. Wow.
So, being a hypocrite that she is, buffoonish nature, she's new to the scene. I think we looked this up before the show. When did she get elected? Like in 2024, was it?
I believe so.
So, like, nobody's really ever heard of her until these last few idiotic things she's done. So she's off to a solid start. I think we're going to get some years of content at her, assuming she holds on to her seat over there in New Jersey, which is probably likely. So as far as buffoonish nature, I'm going to go with a 59. You think that's fair? I think it's fair.
I think it's fair because, like you said, this is a solid start. She's young. She's under 40, first of all. And listen, I think that if she didn't have a career in politics, she'd be great on the offensive line for the Giants. They need the pass protection. The run block offense, they need help in the blocking. So she could do that. But 59 is, I think, is pretty spot on there. You're getting the hang of this.
I'm getting there, Gene. I'm reading. And then for the magnitude, let me go for the buffoonish magnitude here. I'm really trying to be fair. She went from, like you said, doing a tush push in front of an ICE facility to playing the meek victim card in an interview on fake news. So I got to score pretty decent here for the hypocrisy.
It's got to be Sharpton-esque, right? It's got to be
definitely Sharpton-esque. I mean, in the truest sense of the word, really, when you look at this lady. I'm going to go old Sharpton-esque, if you know what I mean. Not new.
She's a handsome woman, Galloway. She's a handsome woman.
She's definitely a handsome woman. Buffoonish magnitude, I'm going to go with 45.47 gigasharpens.
No relation or significance for that number whatsoever. But that is
my
definitely
two favorite numbers.
And you know what? When you compare it to other buffoons we've had on the show from Congress, like Sri Thanadar, for example, he's been around a little bit longer, a little bit more of a bun, and the action magnitude was a big one as well, kind of a little bigger than this one. I certainly agree with that. If we were scoring everything collectively, from the riot outside, the throwing the elbows, the arrest, to this interview, we'd be talking about magnitudes beyond gigasharptons here, I think. We have to come up with a new measurement. But yeah, I think 59 and 45.47 gigs, pretty good.
Solid pick, Gene. Like we said, there's more to come from this woman. I'm sure of it. We'll have content for years. All right. Well, my pick for this week is former director of the FBI, James Comey. Yes, the man who bragged about setting up and destroying the Honorable General Mike Flynn. And I know I'm going back in the past year. He sent FBI agents into the White House, and he was caught on video saying he did it before the Trump administration was sophisticated enough to know any better, and General Flynn didn't have an attorney. Last year, while walking on the beach, this buffoon claims to have found a seashell saying "Vote Harris." This year, he claimed to be walking along that same beach and found a seashell formation that spelled out 8647. What kind of beach is this, Gene, first of all? Right? Play the video of his explanation, please, then I'm going to follow back up with this.
We were walking on the beach. We went to the beach to prepare for this week, which was the launch of my book, and to think about the book and to prepare to answer questions about it. And we were walking back towards the road, and we saw in the sand someone had arranged shells with numbers. And Patrice, my wife, said, "Why would someone put an address in the sand?" And I said, "I don't know." And we stood over it, and I said, "I think it's some kind of like political message." And she said, 86, when I was a server, she did a lot of work in restaurants, meant to remove an item from the menu when you ran out of ingredients. And I said, well, to me, as a kid, it always meant to leave a place, to ditch a place. I said, that's really clever. So then she said, you should take a picture of that. And I did. And I posted it on my Instagram account and thought nothing more of it until I heard through her that people were saying it was some sort of a call for assassination, which is crazy. But I took it down. Even if I think it's crazy, I don't want to be associated with violence of any kind.
And then what happened?
I got a call from the Secret Service that night asking if I would speak to them about it. Of course. I admire the Secret Service. They're pros. I spoke to them on the phone. Then they asked the next day when I got home, would I be willing to come in and meet them in person at the Washington field office, which again, I did, and they were pros again.
Again, folks, where is this beach? I want to go to this beach and see where he's walking around. Ask this man under oath, please, someone in the Trump administration, to tell this story again. I want to know if what he's saying is true or if he's full of it. I think he's full of it. He blamed his wife. I mean, the man is a lowlife, right? He blamed his wife for this whole thing. He claims he doesn't know that 8647 could be construed as a threat against Donald Trump. The man was the director of the FBI, for God's sake. How can he claim that he doesn't know this? And you know my stance, people, on free speech being blamed for violence, right? But the left is prone to violence. Look at Luigi Mangione, right? He assassinated a healthcare CEO. Now imagine, and he was defended by the left. Imagine if days after that, people on the left or the right were saying 86 healthcare CEOs or 86 abortion clinic doctors, right? Where the outrage that would come from that? Trump had 2 assassination attempts on his life last year. He got shot in the freaking head, for God's sake. This is buffoonish. This is reckless, and it damn might be criminal. This is a sick man, Gene.
Well, I do want to jump in, and first of all, I want to say bravo on the pick. I think this is a great pick. I think this is a winning pick. It's definitely is going to take my pick to the brink here. Great job. I do want to push back on one thing. You said that if a conservative had used the phrase 86th or 8647, the way that is being used here, that there would be outrage in the media about that, right? Is that what you said?
If someone on the right said something like that about someone on the left who had an assassination attempt, yes.
Okay, so I did find an instance from, I believe it was last year, when former Congressman Matt Gaetz was proudly tweeting out how he had 86th Kevin McCarthy, how he had 86th Ronna McDaniel, and how he had 86th Miss McConnell from their leadership posts, adding that, better days were coming for the Republican Party. So is it the use of 86th, or is it that the use of 86th against the other side is dangerous?
Gene, how many presidents have been impeached and removed in the history of the United States?
I believe that's a big fat 0.
How many presidents have been killed and removed from office?
I would believe more than a couple.
Yes. So in the context of 86 an individual, 86, Matt Gaetz, 86 people through an electoral process. There is no electoral process to 86 a sitting president, especially one who had 2 attempts on his life. We all know what this man meant, and now he's got to answer for it.
And also, I want to reiterate your point, because I really do like this pick. The cock and bull story given to MSDNC, which is clearly a press opportunity to try to rehabilitate himself, regardless of what was going on with the Department of Justice and whatever investigation with Secret Service or anything like that. Do people actually buy that bullshit?
Bro, he blamed his wife. I mean, that alone.
But just the point you were making earlier about how All these political statements with shells on this beach that he just happens to find all the time. Really?
Right? What beach is this? Is this a beach like behind the White House and the DNC? Like, what beach is this?
I guarantee it's some private beach where there are a lot of well-heeled Democrats living.
And by the way, this man was director of the FBI, and the left always says like they serve a 5-year term and they're beyond politics and they're impartial. BS. This guy showed his hand.
I gotta hand it to you, bro. This is a hell of a rebound from last week. I'm not ranting and raving like I was. By the way, my family absolutely loved, almost peed themselves watching us go back and forth at this last week. So, yeah, this is a return to form for you. I gotta tip the cap to you. He's got a big bam. James Comey's got a damn big bam. And the reason why he does, because unlike my nominee, who just came on the scene, James Comey has been wrecking shop for a decade now, starting with his actions during the 2016 election, going back into like early 2016 and putting the finger on the scale when it came to Hillary Clinton, all the way into the first Trump administration, where you outlined it perfectly about the agents in the White House. And really, you can trace back the anger from Democrats and Republicans to James Comey. Democrats think that he helped get Trump elected, thereby setting the course of history off into the Trump era. And on the other side of the coin, James Comey became the poster child for a corrupt FBI that the agency is still trying to recover from to this day. So he's got a big bun. He's got some big buns to fill. I'm going as far to say that he's got the biggest buns we've seen so far. I'm going 82.
Wow.
Bigger than Big Tish. 82 for the bun.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you hit it out of the park as far as this is just an odious, irredeemable person who thinks he's always the smartest person in the room. He's that egotist that we've talked about here on the channel before. Buffoonicus ambitious. He thinks he's the smartest person in the room. He can explain his way out of anything. That's why he still has the arrogance and the audacity to go on TV where he loves the spotlight. Absolutely loves the spotlight. As we saw back in July of 2016 when he called that press conference to say that, Hillary Clinton, she did some bad things and had some top secret stuff, but no jury would ever convict her, and I'm making that decision, not the Department of Justice. He loves the spotlight. Absolutely loves it. And he found it on MSDNC this week. I went back into researching some of the buffoonish action magnitude, the BAMs that we've been giving out lately, and this fits pretty neatly in between Nancy Mace's video of accosting that man in the store and Senator Michael Bennett's stammering, talking about campaign finance, and then when it turned to his own subject, it just all fell apart. So I'm going nicely in between those two buffoons. I'm going 37.12 gigasharptons. How we feeling, pal?
I think that's he's smack dab in that range. That's what I was thinking, and I appreciate that.
Well, listen, it's a lot better than nominating someone who did absolutely nothing to deserve the nomination.
You gave me a 0, and then you rigged the vote for last week. We're going to let that go.
Don't pick a scab. We're
looking forward. We're looking forward.
And now it's that moment in the show where we beg, plead, bribe, whatever we got to do to convince you in the next minute to vote for our nominee. I'm going to choose to go first. Mr. Galloway, are you ready with your timer?
I'm ready to go.
And go.
I'm not going to lie to the audience. You guys are really, really smart. You proved that last week when you voted against Galloway's gambit here. This is a tough choice this week. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. James Comey is a formidable buffoon. He's also someone that's been around for a very long time. He's got that name recognition. I'm a little nervous about this one. But I got to tell you, folks, this show, as Galloway reminded me about in between segments, is about looking forward, moving forward. And if we're going to be moving forward to new and greater buffoons, you got to get in on the ground floor of LaMonica McIver. The woman has got sharp elbows for days. If you need a path cleared, she's there for you. And the hypocrisy that we're seeing from her very early in her first term should bring her the victory. I'm going to ask you guys to please vote for my choice, LaMonica McIver.
Okay, your turn.
All right, this guy's talking about 86ing a sitting president who had 2 attempts on his life. First of all, I'm an equal opportunity buffoonologist. And in the spirit of DEI, I'm not afraid to pick the white guy. This guy lies, and he thinks you're stupid enough to believe these lies. He found these seashells on a beach twice within a year and then blamed his wife. He's tall, he's lanky, and honestly, he looks like shit nowadays. I got to be honest. He's an evil man. He destroyed good men. James Comey is a threat to democracy, and he politicized the FBI. He loves the spotlight, and he's just another loser trying to sell a book.
Ooh, shots fired.
I take personal offense to that, Galloway. By the way, guys, if you're in the market for a new book, Structured Science and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores.
This guy is a grifter.
I take that as a personal affront.
I didn't mean loser for you. I meant loser compared to Jake Tapper, but whatever.
Well,
if the shoe fits.
Listen, word Kurt Galloway. And with that, the polls are now open for you guys. You can vote on YouTube. You can vote on X on our polls. You can vote on Buffoonology.com in our poll. Tell us who you got for this week's Buffoon of the Week. It's a tough choice this week, man. But listen, by the way, can you lay off the whole racist thing? People are actually starting to believe you. I'm not racist.
Gene is not racist. He has a Jewish friend and a black friend. I've seen them.
You gotta stop. Oh, I'm in trouble.